A new clip involving T.I. has just surfaced and is setting social media on fire. Shared notably by 50 Cent, the footage is sparking massive reactions and reigniting discussions about the rapper's legal history. So, what does this video actually show? Why is it getting so much attention? And how is T.I.'s history with the justice system coming back into the spotlight? We're going to break it all down, because this situation could mark a turning point in his public image. To understand why footage of T.I. connected to jail would go viral, you need to understand the man behind the name. Clifford Joseph Harris Jr., born September 25th, 1980, known professionally as T.I. or Tip, is an American rapper and actor. Born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia, Harris is credited as a pioneer of the hip-hop subgenre trap music, along with fellow Georgia-based rappers Jeezy and Gucci Mane. He is one of the most recognized names in hip-hop history. Harris, a three-time Grammy Award winner, has been described as a leading figure in hip-hop and Southern hip-hop during the 2000s. He has received 19 nominations for the award, as well as 12 Billboard Music Awards, 3 BT Awards, and 2 American Music Awards. But for all of that success, T.I.'s story has always run parallel with legal trouble. Harris first began dealing drugs as a teenager, and by the age of 14, he had already been arrested several times. That is the backdrop. A kid from Atlanta who was involved in street life before most people finished middle school. His music came from that experience, and so did the consequences. In 1998, he was arrested and convicted in Georgia for distribution of cocaine, manufacturing and distributing a controlled substance, and giving authorities a false name. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison and was released after serving 1 year. That was the first real contact T.I. had with the prison system. He was still a teenager, still years away from releasing his debut album, and already carrying a felony record. After his release, T.I. poured himself into music. He met local music executive Kawan K.P. Prather in the late 1990s, joining his company Ghetto Vision Entertainment, an imprint of Arista and LaFace Records by 1999. The lukewarm critical and commercial response of his debut studio album, I'm Serious, in 2001, led him to part ways the label. He then signed with Atlantic Records and found mainstream success with his subsequent releases, co-founding his record label imprint, Grand Hustle Records, in 2003. But even as his career took off, the legal problems kept coming. In 2002, there was an instance where he was carrying a 10mm pistol in a 2004 bust, during which authorities found a silencer-enhanced weapon and loads of ammunition. In 2004, he was busted on a parole violation, just as his career was taking off because of his hit Rubber Band Man. In March 2004, a warrant was issued for T.I.'s arrest, after he violated his probation of a 1997 drug conviction, as well as a 1998 conviction for violating a state-controlled substances act and for giving false information. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison. While imprisoned in Cobb County, Georgia, he filmed an unauthorized music video. That detail, filming a music video while locked up, tells you everything about how T.I. operated. Even behind bars, he was still T.I. Then came the biggest legal situation of his career. In October 2007, T.I. was arrested for attempting to illegally purchase firearms. Just hours before he was scheduled to perform at the BET Hip Hop Award, he was arrested in Midtown Atlanta, where the award show was filmed. The timing of this arrest is one of those moments in hip-hop history that is hard to forget. One of the biggest rappers in the world scheduled to perform at one of the genre's biggest award shows, and instead, he's in federal custody. The entertainer was arrested in a federal sting after his bodyguard turned informant delivered 3 machine guns and 2 silencers to the hip-hop star. Authorities said that Harris provided the bodyguard $12,000 to buy the weapons, which Harris is not allowed to own because he is a convicted felon. The context of why he wanted those weapons adds another layer. Harris went to buy the cash after his best friend, Philint Johnson, was killed, following a post-performance party in Cincinnati in 2006. A man was found guilty last year in the murder case. Harris testified in that trial that he believed the bullets fired at his entourage were meant for him. So from T.I.'s perspective, he was arming himself because he believed his life was in danger. From the government's perspective, a convicted felon had just tried to buy machine guns and silencers through an intermediary. The result was federal charges and a plea deal that would shape the next chapter of his life. T.I. was sentenced in Atlanta federal court to 1 year and 1 day in prison and ordered to pay a $300 fine on weapons charges related to purchasing machine guns and silencers. As part of the deal, the plea agreement allowed the rapper to remain out of prison for a year while he performed community service. In that time, he mentored at-risk students at 58 schools, 12 boys and girls clubs, 9 churches, and many other nonprofit organizations. He turned that period into a platform, speaking to young people about the consequences of guns and violence. The judge, the prosecution, and even community leaders acknowledged the impact he had. Harris was released from FCI Forest City on December 22, 2009, and transferred to a halfway house in Atlanta. Harris had the Federal Bureau of Prisons ID 59458-019 and was released from CCM Atlanta on March 26, 2010. But freedom did not last long. T.I.'s return to the outside was short-lived in terms of staying out of the headlines. In September 2010, he was arrested in Los Angeles on drug charges after authorities said he was found with 4 ecstasy pills. On September 1st, 2010, T.I. and his wife Tiny were arrested for drug charges. The arrest for drug charges led to T.I. being sentenced on October 15, 2010, to 11 months in prison for violating the terms of his probation, specifically for possessing ecstasy, testing positive for opiates, and associating with a convicted felon, namely his PC cohort, C-Rod. Just months after being released from federal prison, he was headed back. On November 1st, T.I. reported back to the Forest City Federal Facility to serve his 11-month sentence. When T.I. was eventually released again, the story got even stranger. On August 31st, 2011, T.I. was released from Forest City at 7:29 a.m. and sent to a community living facility to serve out the rest of his 11-month sentence. But then, he was sent back to federal custody on September 1st, less than 48 hours after his release, due to a dispute involving T.I. taking a luxury bus from a prison in Arkansas to a halfway house facility in Atlanta, a luxury bus from prison. That is the kind of detail that follows you around forever in the public eye. T.I. was later released from prison and was sent back to the halfway house, where he was released on September 29th at midnight. Now fast forward a few years. T.I. stayed out of prison, but the legal issues did not stop completely. In August 2015, the IRS filed liens totaling more than $4.5 million on T.I.'s property for unpaid taxes from 2012 and 2013. Financial problems, tax liens. The kind of thing that can spiral for anyone, but hits different when you are already in the public eye. Then in 2018, another arrest. On May 16, 2018, Harris was arrested outside of the gated community where he lives for misdemeanor charges of simple assault, disorderly conduct, and public drunkenness in Henry County, Georgia, after a guard allegedly refused to let Harris into the complex without a key. That arrest came at a time when T.I. was building a reputation as more than just a rapper. He was involved in community work, business ventures, and even politics. Announced T.I. would be a part of her transition team. And then there was the mistaken identity incident in 2024. The entertainer, born Clifford Joseph Harris Jr., was arrested at Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson Airport on a warrant for a man with a similar name. Authorities were searching for a culprit named Clifford Harris and mistook T.I. for him. T.I. was able to clear his name as the wanted man reportedly weighed 205 pounds, while he weighed 165 pounds. To his credit, T.I. handled it with composure. The rapper stressed that he was not upset about the misunderstanding, noting that cops had only been doing their jobs. He added that he was too blessed to be stressed, citing a better control over his emotions. But that arrest at the airport happened in a context that made things more complicated. The mistaken identity drama came a month after T.I. and his wife Tiny were slammed in a sexual assault lawsuit. The alleged victim filed her claims under the pseudonym Jane Doe. Those allegations, which T.I. and Tiny have denied, have followed them for years. In December 2024, T.I. filed a federal defamation lawsuit against Peterson, alleging that she had falsely claimed on social media that he was under federal investigation for sex trafficking. In March 2025, a Los Angeles County judge dismissed the case after Peterson failed to comply with court orders requiring payment of the legal fees and failed to prosecute the case. So when any footage surfaces involving T.I. in jail, the internet reacts because there is decades of history, multiple arrests, multiple prison sentences, federal weapons charges, drug charges, lawsuits, tax liens, mistaken identity arrests. The man has been through it all. Now, one of the reasons the name T.I. and jail trend together involves his son, King Harris. King Harris, son of T.I., faced a brutal ambush in jail after skipping court. The attack, allegedly premeditated, left him in intensive care, raising questions about whether it was random violence or a targeted hit. The fallout impacts the Harris family's reputation, highlighting the dangers of fame in prison and the consequences of arrogance. King Harris has been making headlines on his own for years, and not always for the right reasons. In September 2022, Harris was involved in a verbal altercation at a Waffle House in Atlanta that drew public attention after a video of the incident surfaced online. His parents later addressed the incident publicly, defending their son while acknowledging the challenges of growing up in the spotlight. His legal troubles started building. He was charged in August 2022 with speeding, knowingly driving a motor vehicle on a suspended license, and driving under the influence of drugs. In September 2024, there was an arraignment notice returned and a bench warrant issued. When T.I.'s own father spoke publicly about King's behavior in 2022, it was with the tone of someone who had been there. If he keep this up, he's gonna go to prison. The Atlanta rapper said during an Instagram live, "Ain't no way around it. Ain't nothing I'ma be able to do about it." T.I. continued, because I know that energy. I was that energy. I know exactly how it's going to turn out. He described Harris as a good kid, chasing after the wrong stuff. Then in October 2024, King Harris was arrested again. King Harris pulled out in front of a Dunwoody police officer as they were coming out of a gas station, nearly hitting the officer's cruiser. The officer then turned on their lights, turned the car around, and pulled over the BMW that Harris was driving. According to the incident report, when the officer approached the car, they could smell the odor of marijuana coming from it. As the officer spoke to Harris, they noticed he had a gun on his hip, so the officer asked him to put his hands on the steering wheel. The cop proceeded to check out King's information, learning the 19-year-old had a warrant from Pickens County for failure to appear in court. According to the arresting officer's incident report, King was cooperative. When the cop asked him to step out of the vehicle, Harris was arrested and taken to the DeKalb County Jail. After the arrest, King was reportedly released the next day, with the warrant reportedly recalled, but the status of his 2022 and 2024 arrests are unclear. People online pointed out the pattern. Here was the son of T.I., a man who had been through the federal prison system multiple times, now walking down a similar road. The footage of King in trouble behind bars is what has been circulating and driving headlines. And for many people, it is impossible to separate King's story from his father's story. The legal troubles within rapper T.I.'s family continue, with his son King Harris getting arrested months after his run-in with the police. And yet, despite the tension, the family remains close. King appears to be quite close with his father and the rest of his family. In late September, he gathered with his family to celebrate his father's 44th birthday. The public feud between King and his parents in 2023 showed the complexity of their relationship. In November 2023, Harris was involved in a widely publicized argument with his father, T.I. During a live-streamed family event, the dispute began during an Atlanta Falcons football game, where Harris appeared on Instagram Live while arguing with both of his parents about his upbringing. He claimed he had been raised primarily by his grandmother rather than in luxury, a statement that T.I. and Tamika Tiny Harris disputed in real time. T.I. later addressed that incident too. T.I. took to Instagram to share a clip in promotion of a joint interview he and King participated in with Complex. In the caption of the post, the rapper explained that his family is tied like a knot. While the viral footage involving the Harris family in jail was circulating, another storyline exploded. For the bulk of February, New York's 50 Cent and Atlanta's T.I. found themselves at the center of 2026's first major rap beef. And it got ugly, with a spouse, children, and even a deceased mom among the hot topics. The origins of the feud go back further than most people realize. The beef first began way back in 2006, when both rappers were debatably at their peak. While it never kicked off, there were definite signs of them not liking each other. But the current explosion came from a more recent catalyst. T.I. initially suggested on $1 million worth of game that the two had agreed on a versus battle, with the idea being that Tip would reveal the news. He claimed on the pod that 50 went back on the plan, playing dumb when the What You Know rapper shared the news. From there, things escalated. On February 23, 2026, T.I. released a 1-minute preview titled War amidst his online feud with rapper 50 Cent. This was followed by the release of 2 diss tracks targeting 50 Cent, Right One and What Bully, both released in the course of 2 days. As far as rapping goes, this has been a totally one-sided feud, as T.I. has been relentless in stacking 50 Cent diss tracks, while 50 has opted for social media fodder and trolling instead of heading to the booth. 50 Cent's approach was different. Instead of recording tracks, he went after T.I.'s family on social media. 50 Cent posted an unflattering photo of Tamika Tiny Harris on social media during his ongoing feud with her husband, T.I. He captioned it with a remark telling T.I. to keep his name out of his mouth, which many people saw as mocking or disrespectful toward Tiny. That is when King Harris entered the picture. And things went from rap beef to something personal. 50 Cent did just that and is now catching heat from King Harris, the 21-year-old son of T.I. and Tiny. On Sunday, February 22, the rising rapper took to his Instagram stories with an explicit, expletive-laced rant after the 50-year-old mogul shared an unflattering photo of Tiny. Amid his escalating online feud with T.I., King went further than most people expected. He referenced 50 Cent's late mother, Sabrina Jackson, who passed away in 1983. T.I. pointed directly at the video of King wearing a shirt with 50's deceased mother on it. When asked about it, T.I. said, "I said that's enough when I seen that t-shirt." T.I. did not hide the fact that King's involvement made him uncomfortable. When asked if he was a fan of Sons King and Damani jumping in the beef with diss tracks of their own, Tip said he gained zero enjoyment out of it. T.I. said around the 7-minute mark of the hour-long interview, particularly when King decided to go scorched earth at the G-Unit mogul, but he also expressed pride in their willingness to defend the family. he did admit he was proud of how both his sons defended their mother, Tamika Tiny Harris, who became the butt of several since-deleted memes posted by 50. The beef continued to escalate on both sides. The T.I.-50 Cent war has become a family affair. On the heels of 50 sniping at Tip and his wife Tiny, two of the Harris children, King and Damani, responded to the G-Unit mogul on Friday, March 6th, with bristling diss tracks. Atlanta rapper T.I. has intensified his ongoing feud with 50 Cent, dropping a new diss track titled Trauma Bond, just days after 50 Cent responded with his own song, No One Told Us What We're Here For. 50 Cent, meanwhile, took things to another level entirely. 50 Cent incorporated diss lyrics targeting T.I. and his wife Tiny into the theme song for his upcoming show Power Origins, and there were rumors that 50 was planning something larger. Comedian Tasha K has suggested that after the ongoing beef, the Candy Shop rapper has turned to his TV talents, with the rapper seemingly confirming the rumor. With the success of the rapper's previous Netflix documentary, it wouldn't be out of character for 50 to turn to a documentary to expose the couple. Fifth has threatened T.I. with a Diddy-esque documentary. That threat, hanging in the background of everything, connects the beef back to the broader conversation about T.I.'s legal history, his family, and the allegations that have followed them. So here's where it all comes together. The viral footage, the jail connection, the feud, the family. T.I. in 2026 is a man navigating multiple fronts at the same time. On one hand, his music career is experiencing a resurgence. Meanwhile, Let 'Em Know is one of the early hits of 2026. The song, part of T.I.'s retirement album Kill the King, is currently #1 at Urban Radio and on several charts, from Instagram to Billboard. His 12th and final album, Kill the King, is scheduled for release in 2026. So there is the reality that T.I. is putting out some of the most commercially successful music he has released in years, and he is doing it at the same time that his name is trending because of jail footage. On the other hand, the legal clouds have not fully cleared. The defamation lawsuits, the sexual assault allegations, even though the case was dismissed, and the ongoing perception that follows the Harris name everywhere they go. In December 2024, T.I. filed a federal defamation lawsuit against Peterson, alleging that she had falsely claimed on social media that he was under federal investigation for sex trafficking. He is actively fighting back against narratives he says are false. But in the court of public opinion, these things linger. King Harris, meanwhile, continues to be a lightning rod. Harris began pursuing music under the stage name Kid Sayan in 2020, experimenting with trap music and melodic hip-hop through his initial singles, Bout Dat and Bad Intentions. He followed with the EP A Thin Line Between a King and a Playa in 2021. He is trying to build his own career, but the arrests, the viral incidents, the involvement in his father's beefs, all of it creates a picture that is hard for him to escape. The 50 Cent beef, for its part, does not appear to be over. For now, the feud continues to draw attention without a clear resolution. T.I.'s focus on family loyalty and his refusal to be distracted by media threats reinforces his position, while fans remain eager to see whether 50 Cent will retaliate. As of March 14, 2026, the exchanges continued daily. Papoose teased more music while 50 Cent persisted with memes and personal jabs. It has even drawn in other rappers, with Papoose joining the fray against 50 Cent, adding yet another dimension to the situation. All of this stems from a Versus battle that never happened. Think about that. A conversation about a friendly catalog versus catalog celebration turned into one of the most personal, family-involved rap beefs in recent memory. T.I.'s sons are recording diss tracks. 50 Cent is posting memes of Tiny. King Harris is referencing 50's deceased mother. And somewhere in the middle of all of this, footage of the Harris family connected to jail went viral. T.I. has always lived at the intersection of success and consequence. He has built an empire in music, acting, and business. Prominent industry artists have signed to T.I. through his Grand Hustle Records label since its formation, including Travis Scott, B.O.B., and Iggy Azalea. In his acting career, Harris has starred in the films ATL, Taker's Get Hard, Identity Thief, and in the Marvel Cinematic Universe films Ant-Man and its sequel, as well as the reality television series T.I.'s Road to Redemption, T.I. and Tiny, The Family Hustle, and The Grand Hustle. And yet, for all those accomplishments, the law and its consequences have been a constant companion. From selling drugs as a teenager, to federal weapons charges, to drug arrests, to tax problems, to sexual assault allegations to his son, following a similar pattern of run-ins with police, the story of T.I. in jail is not one incident. It is a thread that runs through his entire life. The footage going viral is not just about one moment. It is about the entire weight of a public life lived in tension between extraordinary talent and repeated legal trouble. Whether it is T.I. himself or his son King, The Harris name and the criminal justice system have been intertwined for over 2 decades. And with a retirement album on the way, a feud still burning with 50 Cent, and family members generating their own headlines, the next chapter of this story is still being written. What we know for certain is this: the footage went viral because the name T.I. carries weight. It carries history. And right now that history is colliding with the present in a way that has the whole internet paying attention.
Now, did y'all know that Rihanna was reportedly targeted again by another person? Yes, her friend Jason Lee from Hollywood Unlocked shared this. Not long ago, Rihanna was allegedly the target of a shooting by a woman named Ivana Ortiz. Reports claim she traveled from Florida to Beverly Hills, found Rihanna's home, and fired multiple shots with a rifle. The bullets reportedly hit the exterior wall, the front security gate, and even an Airstream trailer on the property. What makes this even more terrifying is that Rihanna and her partner A$AP Rocky were said to be inside that trailer at the time. On top of that, her children and her mother were also at the home, making the situation extremely dangerous. The timing raised a lot of questions too, because it seemed like the attacker knew exactly when Rihanna would be outside. That alone made the whole situation feel eerie and deeper than what's being publicly explained. Authorities are reportedly treating the suspect as mentally unstable, pointing to past arrests and mental health struggles. There were also claims that she had posted content online specifically targeting Rihanna, showing an unhealthy fixation and even making threats. Because of that, charges like attempted murder, assault with a firearm, and shooting at an inhabited dwelling were reportedly filed. It's honestly a very disturbing situation, and the biggest relief is that Rihanna and her family were not harmed. But what's unsettling is that this isn't the first time something like this has happened. According to Jason Lee, there was another incident where a man broke into Rihanna's home specifically looking for her. At the time, Cardi B was staying there while working in LA,